Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I am going to start my series on narcissism. The reason that I am interested in narcissism is because I am the daughter of a narcissistic mother. I discovered this probably about 4 years ago while doing research about personality disorders because I was curious about someone else. I came across narcissistic personality disorder and realized I was reading about my mother. And in that moment, I was so thrilled to know that I was not crazy and evil, but in that same moment, I realized my mother was crazy and evil. So it was awful. It was sad, and it put me into a deep state of anger and rage that I am just now starting to come out of. I really feel the reason I'm coming out of it is because I happened to start doing YouTube and just talking to my online family about other things and my depression and just everyday ththings helped me so much. And I thought, it's because I have somebody willing to actually listen to me. My mother doesn't listen. She can't. She's not capable of that. My mother is 93, and she can still bring me to my knees as though I was a 5-year-old scared child. I have never been able to break away from her, even with the knowledge that I have now. As a matter of fact, when I realized what was going on, I wanted to stay here to fix it. It's like, I was new to narcissism. I didn't realize it can never be fixed, but I wanted to just find a way. It's like I just wanted to have her care about me and, be a mother to me once before she dies. But that's not possible if you're a narcissist. Now, before I get into this anymore, I do want to explain that narcissism, yes, it's all about them, but it's much more than that. There are people who are conceited, arrogant. They think of no one but themselves. But that doesn't mean they're narcissistic. A narcissist really has to have other traits that, like one of the big ones, no empathy. They can't feel for other people. They just don't have that. That button is broken. And so you can be just, there can be jerks in this world who might have a lot of narcissistic traits. Everybody has some narcissistic traits. We do. That's how we can manage to get up and go every day because we're like, I'm worth it. I can do this. But that doesn't mean you're a narcissist. So there are a lot of jerks in this world with narcissistic traits, but it doesn't mean they're narcissistic. You never can know a narcissist is a narcissist unless you are living with them and you get a feel of how they treat people, how they don't have empathy. It's complicated. If you were raised by a narcissistic parent, you are going to know that by the things that we talk about. If you have a narcissistic spouse, you are going to realize that if you don't realize that already. And it's very possible to have narcissistic friends, but there's not as much of a connection like with a parent. I mean, you don't escape that as a child. And with a marriage, many times people marry and they've probably had the narcissism in their life in the past, and there's different kinds of narcissists. There's different roles they put on us. Someone who is raised by a narcissist is very easily able to just marry into a narcissistic relationship. It's just a big bad mess. But anyway, what I'm going to do in this series is I'm going to refer to different websites that I read. I will always link you to whatever I'm reading from that night. And to start, I'm just going to go over the traits. There's 9 traits. If someone has 5 of those traits, they can be considered narcissistic. But again, that doesn't mean everybody is. You really have to know the person. And then the next session, we will go over each of those traits one by one. I want to keep these sessions short because all the YouTube videos I watch about narcissism are quite lengthy. And some of them are awesome and really, really good. But it's like, I don't want to devote 45 minutes to this one person on this one subject. I like to bounce around. So I'm going to try doing short but sweet, which I'm obviously failing already in this first one. But we're going to be short and sweet after this. So let's just get started. I'm going to read from my iPad. And the first site that I'm looking at is the site that I've read the most. It's Daughters of Narcissistic Mothers, but it also can relate to sons of narcissistic mothers or daughters or sons of narcissistic fathers or spouses. But there are some websites that are geared more toward, like a spouse relationship or a parent-child of, depending on what the sexes are. So as we get into it, I will direct you to other sites that you can look at so it can be more of a good fit for you. But for now, we're just going to go over the traits, and this is across the board. Let's start with trait number 1. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. I'm not good with lots of big words. What that one is just saying is that they're just high and mighty, above everyone else, and can act to people like they've done so much and they know so much when they've done nothing and they know nothing. It's just all an act, but they believe it. In their head, they feel that way. Number 2, preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. It's like fantasy land. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high-status people. That one, I could go on and on about each one of these traits with my mother. Like I said, we'll save that. But again, a narcissistic person is very good at making it clear that they are special and unique. And if you don't get that about them, if you don't see that, and if you don't feel that they are special and unique, there is something seriously wrong with you. And number 4, requires excessive admiration. It's all about them. Number 5, has a sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. When we get into the characteristics of these traits will make more sense. But that one is, again, it's a sense of entitlement. I deserve to be treated like the king or queen that I am, because I am that great, and you have got to recognize that. And if you don't recognize it, then you are completely off your rocker. Number 6 is interpersonally exploitative, meaning takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. They will tear you down to get to where they want or what they want. Number 7 is the big one, lacks empathy. I can't stress enough how that one is, to me, the worst. Is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8 is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. She's just jealous of me, or she always wants everything I have. Yeah, that's the way I always heard it. But then my mother was also envious of other people and hated them, just hated them. I'm envious of people, and it excites me. When I know somebody has great success, I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. So envious is not always bad, but it's bad in my mother's case. Number 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. Yes. So, those things don't really sound like that's too unusual. Almost everybody could fit into that, But when we talk about these things more, you are going to realize that it's all those things, but in an abusive way. Like I said, being envious is fine as long as it's not hurting anyone. But if you're going to be envious and you're going to go into a rage because somebody, has a really nice car that you would like to have, if that's upsetting you and ruining your life, or if you're living with a narcissist and they're going through the house in a rage because the neighbor got a new car, it's different than somebody saying, oh my God, look at their car, I wish I could have something like that. That's normal. But these traits, think of them like when they're abusive and brainwashing, that's when it's considered a narcissist. So I am almost sure that this made no sense, but I'm going to upload anyway, and I'll get better at this. It's very, very hard to do different kinds of videos that I haven't done before. And that's why I keep putting it off. It's like I just keep, procrastinating. I'm very good at that. You know that about me. But I figure I'm just gonna jump in the water, and we're gonna get this started, and I will learn as I go. And once we start talking about it more, my only fear is that I won't be able to shut up, because once we start getting into things that I have personally lived, it's like, oh. And I will get into them. I have been quiet my whole life. I never wanted to make anybody in my family, look bad, but it's not about that. It's not about throwing my mother under the bus at all. It's about trying to heal my own self, and with knowledge of why it's just not my fault. I still have a very hard time believing that. I have been trained so much in my life to know that I do not know what I'm talking about, that I am completely insane, and that I can't trust anything that I think, because every thought that I think, I'm making it up. I mean, I have been brainwashed to believe that. And so even though I have some knowledge now, I can read about narcissism all night and the next day say, why am I reading that stuff? That's all wrong. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know that my mother really is this magical, mystical person who is above everyone else. I mean, it's just hard. It's just hard. And it's hard to accept that I've been believing something my whole life that was a bunch of crap. And it makes me mad. So you're probably never going to see me cry in this series, believe it or not, because it brings out anger, not sadness. It just pisses me off, So let's just stop here for now. I'm going to link you to this particular website, and I'll also be linking you down the road to different content creators on YouTube that you might like to listen to, and different websites, but I will link to this one. You can start with this one, and even though this one is about daughters of narcissistic parents, you can, get a good idea of what's going on, and we will, look at others, narcissistic fathers and narcissistic spouses, and got lots of good information coming your way. I'd like to do this at least once a week, if not more, maybe a couple nights a week. Just sit and read a little bit and we'll chat. So I am going to wrap this up just by saying this will get better. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this, and I know enough about me to know that I just need to start, and we will get flowing. And I'm thinking that once we get past the traits, we're going to go through the characteristics of each trait. Each trait, we might just do one short video on that particular trait. I'm going to tell you what they say the trait is. I'm going to tell you how it applies to me and my mother, if it does. Not all the traits are there. Who am I kidding? She's got all the traits. And then what I will do is I will put it out there and say, if you have any stories about this particular trait, you can share in the comments. And if you don't want to be known in the comments, you can always get yourself another channel on your account, and you can have something anonymous if you want, for the sake of these videos and for the comments and the conversation, because I really want to get the conversation started. And I think we're all going to feel much better after. I'm sure some of you have lived with a narcissist and you didn't even know it. So once you do, you're going to realize it's not you, it's them. All right, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much. And like I said, stick with me. It'll get better. Bye.